Oh, yes. Hello, everyone. Those here in person, thank you for coming. And of course, those that are on Zoom. Those on Zoom probably saw me talking, but didn't hear anything. Sorry about that. I was letting them know about our new camera called the Owl. If you talk, it will look at you and, well, for those that are here in person. So that's why you'll see that it'll split off into multiple little screens, depending on who's talking. Might take a few seconds, but it will eventually shift around whoever. Think everyone, if everyone's ready, we could get started. Welcome to our annual financial meeting for this year. We hope to touch base with IFS Cash Store. There's been a lot of releases and changes, so definitely need to go over those. Of course, if you don't already know, I'm Dominique Mueller, and I've been here at CPT for 6 years now. Yes, 6 years. Julie Bruns is also here. She'll be presenting the other half of the financial part. And then, of course, Gwen is also here, and Mike with us if anything happens or if we have questions. But I will get going if everyone is ready. Is everyone can hear us very well on Zoom? Did I check that before we get started? Oh, yes, that's right. We can do that too real quick. We can do introductions. I know there's quite a few new faces. If you don't mind going around, introduce yourself and where you're from. Oh, you want me to use the microphone? Oh, for the introduction. Doesn't matter which one I use.
Hello.
Here we go.
Rhonda Moss, Big Stone County. Holly Wallendorf, Big Stone County.
Whatever suits you.
Tammy Nelson, Lincoln County. Christina Richmond, Lincoln County. Lisa Weiss, Candiota County. Melissa Netlin, Minoa County. Jolene Zabrowski from Todd County. Rachel Olson from Todd County.
Dylan Ashman, Countryside Public Health.
Brenda Garcia from Lyon County. Abby Bandelinati, Lyon County. Katie Rodney, Stevens County.
Brad Lanners, Meeker County.
Jessica Wald, Meeker County.
Kelly McNamara, Meeker County.
Ashley Carr, Grant County. Hillary Risbrood, Grant County. Annie Anderson, Yellow Medicine. Stacy Gunderson, Swift County. Alyssa Kurkuski, Swift County. Connie Winnicky, Murray County. And Heidi Winter, Murray County.
If those on Zoom would like to do an introduction, you can do so now if you would like. Did you turn it off? Oh, you did. Beautiful. Oh, no. All right. Okay, now. Okay. Oh. Yes, I can let you know. If you don't know already, restrooms are right over here underneath this awning. I'm not sure what else to call it. Underneath. Of course, there are coffee, refreshments, and donuts in the back for those that are here. And if we're all ready, we will get started. I'm gonna bring me to my first slide.
Go ahead, sure.
Okay, there we go. We're gonna start off with IFS and cash store overview. I'm gonna touch base on the current release that you have right now, that all of you should have. All right, next slide. Oh, there we go. So I'm gonna go over one of the, at least the major changes that happened in this new release. One of the biggest changes is within the vendor file. There are now two new, I guess, permissions, I would call them, within the vendor file. They are called for payment and for receipts. It was a request enhancement that came through about limiting the vendor listing when you like look it up, when you're within receipts or within vouchers or warrants. It is a very long list. So it was a request to see if they can limit and make that smaller somehow. And here is how you can do it. You can say yes or no if a vendor is going to be used for receipts or is going to be used for warrants. If they say no, they will not show up. You'll not be able to click on them or enter them if you are going to use it, depending on where you are. This permission does work in cash drawer as well. That's also another request as well to help filter out payers within cash drawer, because you now can do a lookup as well there. I will touch base once we get to cash drawer. Then another of the changes was being able to send receipts to cash drawer. I know some of you did run into this. When you send a batch from cash drawer into IFS, creates a batch, of course. And then some of you have the habit of entering in the rest of your receipts, if they were not entered in the cash drawer, in that batch. When that happens and you say you try to process it, it's going to try and automatically send them over to cash drawer for you. If you do not want that to happen, make sure to create a separate batch within IFS, and then it'll stay in IFS only. If you do like that it does go over to cash drawer, then you can enter them within that batch. Of course, you can create a normal IFS receipt batch and send it directly to cash drawer as well. You'll see that there is an option in the dropdown for you having the permissions to see it, of course. You see it at the bottom. Oh, there's some guards covering it, saying send. It'll give you the prompt to choose your cash drawer and your department. And then you should be able to send over this option. Your batch, here we go. Example. Like I said, it'll be automatically sent over to cash drawer if you just process it, not just hit the send button. Also, when you send it to cash drawer, it will lock the batch. So it's not technically processed yet when you send it over to cash drawer. It's locked. Locked meaning it's in cash drawer, waiting for it to be reconciled. Once it's reconciled, it will remove that lock. But until then, with it being locked, that means no one can edit, no one can add, no one can do anything with the batch except, of course, display and look at it. On to cash drawer. In cash drawer, there are, of course, additional improvements that were done as well. One of them was to make payer names required when entering in a receipt. A lot of people put enhance or request in. They really like to make sure there's a name. No one forgets to put the name in on that receipt. So now you can make it mandatory that if they will get a little warning saying, hey, you don't have a name, you have to make sure you have the name filled in. Now, it doesn't matter if they have the number or if it's a valid vendor number. That doesn't matter. As long as there's a name filled in, it will, of course, warn them saying, hey, you need a payer name. And this is dictated based off the drawer that they are using. That is where that permission is located. If you can say yes, no, your names are. Also, another change, which I know some of you are very excited about, I was as well. Previously, when you needed to update your receiving numbers, have them start over, or have a different starting number, before you had to purge or reconcile and purge everything, and then you could start using a new receipt number. Now you do not have to do that. They now added a receipt number start date. So if you would like to change your starting number, let it be the beginning of the year or whatever it may be, you can now do that. So what you would do is change the number, put the start date in, always make sure it's the day next, so next day, not the day you're doing it. Because if you do that and you've already entered receipts in for that day, it will not work. It'll continue on based off the numbers it's already new, your starting number was previously. And it'll keep going off that day. You can't do it in the middle of the day. You have to do it at the beginning of the day. So it's always recommended, if you want it changed, do it the day before, change it, make sure no one else is entering receipts anymore. Also make sure, once it's used, it'll just keep using it that day. Have that starting number for tomorrow and the date, of course, very important for the date. Then the next day when they start it, it'll pick up that number and then go on. And you do not have to do any reconciling or purging to do this. You just gotta make sure you time it right and make sure no one's entering any receipts at the end of the day. The next day, you should do it. Also, another good thing that they added a new column within search. When you're looking to look at all the receipts that you've already created, you now can see the receipt numbers in that little table at the bottom, not just the transaction number, which I know some of you did start to make sure the receipt number and the transaction number were the same to help be able to look at a glance, looking at that table at the bottom. Now it does not matter. You now can see the receipt number as well as the transaction number on that table to make it a lot more easier to view instead of having to go inside each receipt and confirm who is who or run a report first. Like I said earlier about the peer names being mandatory and that you can now look up stuff, look up the vendor name or the vendor number within a receipt when you're creating it. This goes back to those permissions in IFS about if a vendor is going to be for receipts or for vouchers and warrants. This is where that would come into play. If they say yes for receipts, they will show up in that drop down lookup. It works exactly the same as it would in IFS. If you start typing the name, hit the button, warrant leads a star, it'll trigger, it'll pull up anything that's similar. But that will, of course, make, with those permissions in IFS, it'll make that list a lot smaller if you go through which ones you would like as receipts or which ones you would like for warrants. As of right now, I forgot to mention, default, it is yes for receipts and warrants. That is just default of as of that release, and as of when you create a new vendor, it'll automatically be yes for both of them. You of course can go in and change them, no problem. So on. For these buttons to work, if you do not have ePort set up for your vendors, these drop downs will not work. ePort has to be turned on in IFS. So if you're wondering why you don't see any vendors or you only see some vendors, you might want to check to make sure they are marked yes in the vendor file for ePortable. Now, if you don't have this set up and you would like all of them set up, all active vendors to be set up as ePortable just to get you started and then of course go through it later, just let us know. We can do a mass change for your vendors to be yes ePortable if you want all active to make it easier. So if you all run into that trouble, just let me know. We can easily just make them ePortable for you and then you can go through it. With permissions and the ePortable if you want it not to show up. You back up one. The arrow piece. There we go. Oh, yeah. Well, first you do have the lookup for the payer name within search and for reports as well. That button is now available there as well for you to look it up instead of remembering who you're looking at. It is there. If available, of course, for the vendor number as well, depending on the report. Some only do the name, some do both. They should now have a button there as well. Any questions on the current release? So far, everyone doing good with both changes? Okay. Now, the next upcoming release. So this would be the 6 point. No, we're currently on 6.1. So I think it'd be 7.0. So during the NCCC year-end meeting, they went over what the new IFS, hopefully upcoming IFS release. Currently, it's not in beta, sadly. I really hope I can show it off to you. So I do not have any screenshots, minus what was shown to us during that meeting, the NCCC meeting. So I took liberations and did screenshots the best as I could, but of course, they're not going to exactly it is, since I don't have the actuals. So one of the changes is they're adding a new vendor report that you will now have access to. It is the vendor change report. A lot of requests have gone through, and I know we do have a report already in IFS for additions and changes within the vendor maintenance. There is a report already. But it was requested to be more specific on what is being pulled in for those changes and what is actually being done within it. So this report is gonna show you a lot more. It's gonna show you if anyone changes the name, addresses, etc. And of course, you have more control over it per a date range. And then I believe per, if I remember the screenshots, per person as well, I believe. Of course, since this is new, and as of once you get the release reports, once you have it, it will only pull data based off changes since you get the release. Because this is something new, the programming wasn't tracking everything. So it will of course track the usual things it tracked before, the previously, like the other report tracked with different changes, who did it, like stuff like that. But the additional information that was changed within the vendor file, that is new, so we'll pick that up. That if it was done as of when you get that release. So do keep that in mind if you're trying to run back to current or past years. It'll only pull what was actually being tracked back then, can't pull data from nowhere. So do keep that in mind if you were wondering, hopefully you can use it for the audit. And probably do that, so you won't do as of when you get that release. Also, sorry, you guys, so much better, right?
Too fast.
There we go. There's also a lot of questions are happening on when you merge a vendor. How do you know when that happens? How do you know which ones were merged? There's now going to be a vendor merge report as well. So you can see when and who was merged together, and to be able to look into that as well. And that is also done. They didn't really touch base on much anything else other than IFS for changes, because this release is could be like the first one of the year based off. There was no dates given, so I'm estimating based off what they told me. This one will probably be the first release of the year. Since there's no 1099 changes or nothing like that, they didn't really go into depth on any other changes within IFS, but they were currently still working on it, hence why there's no beta out yet. So as of right now, I don't know anything else about any additional changes for IFS. So moving on to cash drawer, there are a lot of changes being done in here. I know those that were in MCCC were very excited about some of these changes. But we'll start off here in the less boring part of it. There are now new permissions. Previously, or currently, technically, there are only, I believe, 4 permissions, if I remember correctly: admin, lead cashier, cashier. There are 3 or 4. I think it's 4. Lead cashier, and then cashier. Now it's going to add more permissions, more specific permissions for you to make it a little more easier and limit what people can do. So you can be admin approval, but not be able to reconcile, or you can give them a cashier lead where they can only create receipts, but they also can run reports, or you can restrict that. Or with this new option, which I'm going to talk to next, be able to run invoices. That is also a new permission to allow them to be able to run that or not. Guess I kind of just go right into it. They are adding a new invoice option within cash drawer. So now you can create a receipt, create an invoice for someone based on the receipt or charges that towards that person, and you can receipt in their payments, which then you can mark the invoice as paid. And in doing so, of course, means there's a lot of new fields for these invoices. One of the, of course, the base changes would be is there's a new header and footer that you now have control of. Of course, it's going to print your accounting information, which is in your setup option. It'll of course print whatever you have written there. Also in there, it'll have these footers, the header and footer, any additional information you want to add onto the invoice. I think traditionally it is usually what you want to pay the checks out to, payable to blah, blah, or thank you, or if you have questions, email that person. usually what I see at the end of footage, but you have full control of what would you like down there. Also, you'll see that there are new fields within departments. This is where you can get your starting invoice number, and they also added a prefix. If you liked a few letters or characters before your invoice number, like for example, INV, which I'm pretty sure some of you have seen on some invoices you also receive yourselves. You can get that set for each department. And then we also have invoice payment period. So this is, as you run your invoices, it will put on the invoice when it's going to be due. So as of you creating it, you can say 10 days later, it has to be due, or 20 days later, or 30 days later. That is how it will be, or how you can control when it will be due for the person, at least via on the invoice. Now, like I said, the beta is now, I couldn't give you a true screenshot of what the invoice looks like, but it pretty much looks like the receipt that you print out, minus there are additional fields, like I mentioned. At the top and the bottom, of course, it won't say receipts, it'll say invoice. At the top and bottom will be the header and footer. What they do is they lower down space so you can put that header. And then, of course, they pull, oh yes, also keep this in mind, they are pulling whatever is in the IFS vendor file. So if you are going to be using invoices, make sure you have the address filled out and their information, because it will pull whatever is available within the vendor file. So if it's blank, will be blank. So do keep that in mind, which is good to, when you're creating the receipt, you have the ability to see that there's a little drop down section with fields on, it will pre-fill those fields per if you use the vendor lookup. So pre-fill the address, so we'll know if you have one. If they're going to invoice, so that's another way of checking, but maybe we'll do that. As right now, it's very, and then under or before the payer name should be the invoice number. I really wish I could give you a screenshot. I'm trying to do this off memory. That's my ability. As of right now, it's just how it's going to look. He said there's going to be future, of course, as people get this release, they're going to want feedback. They are already discussing for the next release that they're already having requests for enhancements on adding a logo. So you logo on the top right, what they're thinking. But they're gonna first get this out, see how people like it, see how it goes, go from there. So you know there most likely will be feedback and more enhancements on what you like people, what you like added to the invoice. Of course, the logo was one already brought up right away. I believe they said probably top right would be roughly where they think they could fit in. Where invoices are going to be held. It is going to be a new tab you'll see at the top of your bar, it'll be in between transaction and tax. It'll be called invoices. It'll literally look like they copied transaction and pasted it and just renamed it, which is kind of what he said they did. So it'll look exactly like this drop down. It'll say new, search, and purge, just like you see right now for transactions. But for invoices, you can go in, create your new invoice, look up invoices, and of course, purge invoices as well. Now, within the search criteria, so you of course can search by unpaid invoices. So if no receipts have been attached to a invoice, you will see right away that it's paid. You need to search by them. You also can search by when it's created or by when it's due, as well. Like I said, you will be able to see if it is paid or not. It'll there's a little status bar added column at the end saying unpaid or paid, or I think the third option is if you create your invoice and you're like, oh, it doesn't have to be invoiced anymore, there is a third status. I believe it says deleted, if I remember correctly. That of course is still being tested and played with for them. So you can delete invoices, say if you weren't not need one. Any questions about invoices. I really was hoping the beta would be out by now. Usually this is roughly when they do the beta, but it is not, sadly. I know a lot, people had a lot of discussion, and I already have, I think, 2 counties who are willing to do beta testing, so they can get into the invoicing right away. So if you are interested, I will just let me know. Do keep in mind, if you are interested in the beta, you have to have IFS beta as well. You have to have both. So it can't just be the beta for cash store, you have to have both. So if you are wanting it because of the cash store release, you have to keep that in mind to be both. Of course, I will be beta testing as well. Like I always do. So if you want to wait a little bit, fine, and we can discuss that. Now, of course, a lot of people kept asking, what are the changes for IRS? With the new IRS changes. Of course, there's no date because you can't submit to IRS this year, which is the new 1099 submission website. You cannot submit this year there. So those changes will not happen until most likely the end of the year next year. So they said next release after all the invoicing and all that is done, 7.1 will probably be the releases for IRS. So you will not see anything in probably late of next year. That's like everyone kept asking, so they did mention it will be in that release. Any questions on the current release? Beta release? Of course, as the releases come out, I will send release notes, and those that want the beta, of course, we will get the beta release notes as well. If you so wish to have them, just let me know.
You know approximately when that will be coming out, invoices?
No, we don't.
6 months, a year?
Oh, this quarter.
In
They
this-
said,
okay,
yeah, so it's, they did say end to first quarter
Okay,
is what they said. But I have not gotten a date, sadly. Should have emailed them. I totally forgot to email them to see if they had a date yet. Last time I checked, they did not. I keep checking their website. See if they have the beta release out, so then maybe it'll be determined, but yet again, determining the date depends on how good the beta release goes. If it's really bad, it might be pushed out. A lot of fixes need to be done, or if it's very good, it might be released early, but I'm hoping January, because I haven't heard anything in December. I'm hoping January, maybe late February, but I do not know. Because this is roughly when they usually do it anyways, so, but they did say they're still working on it, this is new. They do have some counties already working with them. Well, I believe it's the ones that requested it. So, as soon as I hear anything, I can also send an email out as well. Alright. 10 and 9 information. There are no changes for 2025. They'll be as of normal. Do your 1099, submit them on the IRS Fire website. Use your TCC code, or of course, if you're using our TCC codes, email them to me. That has not changed. You are good for this year, so you don't have to change it. I did put a screenshot up here of when 1099s are due for the recipients and to the IRS. I know there was a slight confusion last year because NECs always throw people off because they're the only ones that didn't get their date changed last year. They are still January 31st, unlike the others, so do keep that in mind. That those still need to be done. The other ones who are a little more relaxed and when they need to be submitted, but not. Such as the miscellaneous, those are not until March. So I just wanted to put that reminder up. Make sure you guys didn't forget. Also, of course, like every year, fire goes down for its annual update and changes. So you can't start doing your 1099s, at least submitting wise, until January 26th. There's always one of you who's not here today, who always submits very early, and has ran into it when it was down. Well, guess who it was? Michelle. She's always on the ball. So do make sure you wait for that. And of course, if you're submitting with us, just let us know. If you don't have our TCC code, I will give it to you so you can fill in that information. Or create your benefit. All right. Let's go through 1099 information and proofing. It was a lot of good discussion. on what you need to do to prepare for 1099s throughout the year. One of them was a lot of counties were discussing was how to make sure your vendors are up to date. How do you make sure their information is correct for their 1099s, etc. And a lot of you, I think the majority of you, all ask for a W-9 when you're creating a new vendor, especially if they're getting paid. I know some counties are like, you don't get paid until you give me your 1099. And some counties have started putting in a date when they receive the 1099. So they know how old this information is. So they've been writing it in a little note box. And they're like, this is per each county. Some have said they put a little date in their head. They're like, if it's been so many years, we should ask for a new one. Especially through COVID, there's been a lot of selling, changing of names, etc. It's good to get a new one. So they've been just creating a little note in the notepad in the note section within the vendor file to make sure they can remember who's requested it last, when they received it, etc. To make sure that they're all up to date. Also, it also lets you know, for first when the last time you asked, but also it lets you go through your vendor file too. When was the last time you paid this vendor? Does this vendor need to be here anymore? Should it just inactivated? That'd be another thing you could do as well for cleanup. Make your vendor file not so big, which is probably forever will be big. Yes, like I said, vendor cleanup, you can inactivate vendors that haven't been used. Doesn't mean you have to purge them, doesn't mean anything like that. You always can reactivate them if you need to pay someone who's already there. Some counties have put into a ruling that if they've been inactivated, you automatically have to ask to help you get a new W-9 because you haven't been paid for so many years. A lot of counties were thinking maybe 7 to 10 years. Why are you still in the vendor file? Inactivate if you all of a sudden pay them, ask for a new W-9, then you'll reactivate them and of course pay them. I thought it was a nice thing to have to make sure to keep everything small and make sure everything's up to date. And of course, merging vendors, if you see a lot of duplicates, make sure you merge them together. I know a lot of counties have been working hard on cleaning vendors to make it cleaner. Do keep in mind, I do remember one county running into this issue and there's sadly no way around it. When you merge vendors and they're have a slight range of names, if you do the vendor lookup either in inquiry or wherever you may be, and you look up via the name, all those names will still be there because those names still exist even though you merged them to one vendor. So if you start typing a name and that name is said 5 different ways, Minnesota or University of Minnesota, U of M, all the different abbreviations, and you merge them all together, you can still search by their other names, which I know can use people, but since you still have that history, their names still exist, even though you've merged them into one vendor. So those that data is there until you purge. So to keep that in mind. A very good report to run is the vendor listing report. For those that are here, you can't really see it because of the garland, but at the bottom in the vendor file, there's a button called print report. That is the vendor listing report. Very good report to run. You can run it as PDF and in Excel. When you go in there, you can control what prints on the receipt, especially for 1099, or not the receipt, prints on the report. And you can have it print the social security number or federal ID and be able to confirm that yes, they all have one or no, they don't have one. It's a really good way to look, especially when you put it in Excel, you can sort by blank fields. You'll know if they have it or if they have the label for the 1099 or address, it would be a lot easier to go through search. And then you can confirm that everyone's up to date, everyone has their information. I know some people also use it as a checklist. If they have that note column, when the last time they did their 9s as well. We see if they needed a new one or if things need to be inactivated because they haven't been used. So that is a very good report to run. Of course, the best report to run once you are ready for your 1099 would be, of course, paid invoice by vendor report. That's when it pulls in all transactions based off the ranges and so you put in. Of course, the first time you run it, make sure you run it for all vendors, regardless if they're 1099 or not, just in case you mislabeled them or there's transactions that weren't labeled. Make sure you do it for all and make sure there's no cutoff. Put it $0. Go through it, confirm. If you see any that are labeled yes for a vendor, but the transaction is no, it's good to go through them and make sure like, oh, was that transaction meant to be no or is it supposed to be yes? It does, of course, pre-fill them. If the vendor is yes or any other letter, it should pre-fill for that transaction. But of course, you can always change it. It does not stop you. So that's good to go through that as well. Make sure any changes you do are done before you start going and creating your 1099. Here's a screenshot of the report. Like I said, you can see if it says, if the word is spelled out for yes and no, that is what is set in the vendor file. If you see only just the letters, S, N, yes, no, 1, 2, 3, depending on who has that all filled out. You can see what is set in the vendor and then what is actually set for the individual transaction, which is a good way. That's why I say make sure you run it for all vendors. See how they're labeled. If they are labeled to 1099, but labeled not labeled for the transaction as the 1099 or vice versa, this is the best way to catch it and see it. And of course, what is filled out. Now, if you did your 1099, not your 1099, sorry, your invoice, your paid invoice by vendor report, the second report to run, if you of course have any, is if you had any 1099 assets, which is your pre-1099 legal descriptions report. This will make sure that all that are labeled S's have their legal description. You only need minimum, you need at least the first line to have something on it, or you'll get flagged when you start to create the 1099 S's. You do keep that in mind when you are creating that. So if it fits all in one line, that's totally fine, as long as there's something on the first line. Next is once you're done proofing, everything looks good, hopefully nothing's missing, you can start filling your 1099. This is where you're gonna make sure you check all your accounting information, your CPT codes, your cutoff amount at the bottom. This is, you'll need to start building these for each 1099 that you are going to be printing. If you are only have one type, you only have to build the one. If you have all of them, you'll need to build them individually each time. So just make sure in both tabs, the payer and transaction information, transmitter information is all correct. Where you go. Do remember that there's a new option. I believe sadly there's Garland right here. You can see it in your printout. There is a separate fund option that was added if you wish to exclude or include only certain funds when you are creating it. I think this was added for those that do agencies, like they have multiple names, that's not the technical term for it.
School host.
Yeah, the host. If you're a host for something and you have them within the same IFS, you can exclude them or have only their data if you're running it for them. Those funds, or if you had it via those funds, you can exclude or include and then build it just for that. So do keep that in mind. If you are one, that option is available. Or you have funds that just need not be included because therefore everything else is not needed for you. After you submit your 1099 build file, you will get free reports in your inbox for each type except 1099S. You'll get four reports. You will get the main processing file, of course, which is a report of everything that's going to be pulled into the 1099 once you are ready to create that file for the IRS. Proof listing, and then if there's any duplicate federal ID numbers. The fourth report for 1099S's, of course, is legal description report. They give it to you again. Well, the report, you will see that in your inbox. Well, those are good to review. Again, make sure everything looks good. And make sure to build them one by one. Because this is the same process for all of them. Once you have built them, you can now proof them. I know you have most likely just got those proof reports. You do have the ability to run a big proof listing for all 1099 or individuals if you would like to hold that information. Initially, of course, well, if you hear me say it, this is your last time, proof one last time, nothing's missing, everything looks good. Hopefully you didn't get any errors when you build your file. If anything is missing, it'll let you know. If you get an error saying, oh, there's no data, don't worry about that. This just means you don't have those 1099s, don't have anything labeled, nothing. Oh, it's off, it's off, it's nothing. Also, within the same spot where you run your 1099 proof, you can run your recipient form, that drop down as well. Any recipient form will have a number in the letter C. That's how you know it's a recipient form. Also, I don't think any of you are doing anymore. You do have the ability to print the 1099 forms as well, if you like to do that. But I don't think any of you are doing that anymore now that you submit via online. But that is where your miscellaneous, or not, your recipient forms are. Do make sure, I know I kind of covered it up so you can see the drop down, where it says second option, print last four social security numbers, or social security federal ID number. Make sure that is no. Or only print the last four and not the full social security number. If you miss that, your recipients won't be able to accept those forms. I think you'll have to resend that. So do make sure that is no. It kind of defaults to yes. Usually based off the last time you ran it, it defaults yes. So do make sure that is a no before you create those forms. It only prints left. Since if everything is ready, recipient forms looks good, proofing is good, it is time to create your file for the IRS. Now you'll have to do this for all the 1099s that you're going to build. When you hit submit, it's going to look like you did nothing, which is completely fine. It's all in the background. It'll create that file or pull all the data. Technically, it's pulling all the data for a file to be created. Once you hit submit, do make sure you do these in order. You're building the 1099 miscellaneous, then build it and then download it. Because if you say you build all of them and then you hit the download button, it'll only grab the last one you built. So do make sure you do them one at a time. Do the miscellaneous, build it, go to the other option, download it. NECs, build it, download it, etc. Do make sure you do that. Yes, this is where the download option is, but you do one at a time. Also, when you download it, it should, depending on your IT and how you have it setting on your computer, it'll either download and go to your browser download, or you can just open up your downloads folder. I think I have a screenshot of that next tab. Yeah, this is how it looks like in my download folder. They always download with the same name. They all have the same name. It says 1099 text file. So make sure you rename them each time you download them so you know which one's the miscellaneous file, which is the F, one is the C's. Do rename them so you know which one is which. Especially when you're submitting it to the IRS, to the fire website. If they all have the same name and it flags one of them, you won't know which one got flagged. So do make sure to rename them. And especially for me too, when I'm submitting them, I do like them labeled so I have a soup, and I can tell you which one may have trouble with that. And the Irish Fire website, to my knowledge, no changes are being done to it. So it should look like the same as usual. The website is on IFS, and that download section we saw earlier. We of course have the URL here as well. Also, it will, at least based off what I first logged in to make sure everything looks good, it might trigger you to change your password to look out for that, and you should be able to log in. No problem. Any questions so far on 1099s? I know there's no changes, so it shouldn't be too different to what you're used to. Yeah?
Our TCC code good for years here.
Yes, TCC codes are good as long as you keep using it. If you let it last 3 years, then it's no good.
Okay.
But sadly, you're going to be applying for a new TCC code for next year, so we will be having to just get one for the IRS website. They have to be separate. If you have a fire TCC code, you cannot use it for IRS. It needs its own separate TCC code, and it actually has a separate application. So do make sure you select the IRS TCC code application when you are applying for your new one for next year. Oh, yes. Oh, yes, the fire website is just, is not gonna be in use after this year. This is the last year you are going to be able to use it. Oh, and if there are any corrections or if you need to resubmit, if you submit it in Fire, you have to submit your corrections in Fire as well. You can't go between the two platforms. Do keep that in mind. You can't do the correction in Iris. I know I'll go over the things you can do in Iris. Iris does allow you to edit your file. You cannot do that in Fire. But so just keep that in mind. Everything if you start Fire, you end Fire for this year. Yes, like I said, you're gonna have to apply for your TCC code for Iris. The one you have now will work just fine for Fire, but for next year, you will need one for Iris. Here's the website you can go to apply for Iris, the application. It will bring you to ID.me, so keep that in mind. If you do not have an ID.me login, create one. If you do have it, hopefully you still have the username and password written down somewhere, but you can log in and apply. Now, make sure whoever is going to be filling out the application, like I myself cannot fill out the application. I am not I think it's called an RO for a role within the ID.me, which is the highest role you can get. Anyone below it will not be able to do the applications. You might need to find out who is your main person, who has the highest permissions to fill out the application. So, like Mike is my person, he'll need to log in and fill out the application for me. I can view it once it's filled out, but I cannot. I am not the top. So do you keep that in mind? Here's what it looks like once you log in and you are able to see this screen. If you are in that bubble, you'll see the new application option. And you'll see that there is two separate options, one for Fire and one for Iris. Make sure you fill out the TCC code Iris application when you are selecting it, because getting your another Fire one will do you no good. The Iris one. I was told it takes about 45 days for you to get that TCC code. So that's why it's highly recommended for you to get them now, or at least start that progress to get it, because it does take a while for you to get it. And depending on what options you chose when you created your login and when you fill out this form, depending if you chose the email, or not email, sorry, mailing, they have to mail you that TCC code. It may take a little longer. If not, I think there's another option to view it via online within Iris. From what I've heard from other people who have already done it, I myself am not there yet to be able to show you or tell you how that exactly works. Now, changes for Iris. A lot of people are a little excited about what you can do with an Iris. It is a lot more flexible with your 1099 file, unlike Fire. Like one of them I just mentioned, you do have the ability to edit a file you have submitted already, as long as it hasn't been processed. So the Iris file that you submit to Iris is going to be a CSV, not a text file. So it's gonna be a lot easier to edit and look at than a text file is. So it will make it easier to edit. I mean, once you submit it to Iris, you should be able to edit that file. No problem, as long as it's not processed. And let's say you need to do a correction in Iris, you can go in there and see your submitted file, and you can make edits to it and then resubmit it instead of creating a new one through IFS. If you do that, which too, if it's small, if you choose one recipient, you do have the ability to do that as well. It also gives you the ability to enter in by hand. You can just type in. If you only have a few and you just want to type it in instead of submitting it, which I'm not sure if you would or not, you do have that ability as well. You can just fill in their information for those 1099s. You're good to go. Now, one of the big changes is because of the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. One of the changes is the threshold. The cutoff currently is $600. It is now being changed to $2,000. I know that will drop a lot of yous, how many 1099s you're gonna have or need to do. But do keep in mind, this is only for NECs and miscellaneous, not for S's or D's. Just for those two types, as of right now. That is a big threshold change. So do keep that in mind. Of course, that won't be until next year, and we'll of course touch base again when IFS has been updated and all of us have gotten to be able to play around and show you. But that is a change that I know will affect the majority of you with that threshold. And I know not a lot of 1099s get that high up. Any questions on the new changes? I really wished I was able to submit the application so I can, and to see if I can show you around Iris, but I need that TCC, you need that TCC code, the Iris one, to get into Iris. So that's why I haven't been able to log in, and I am going to show you what it looks like on the outside. So hopefully end of year, next year, I'll be able to go through all that. Of course, I'll probably send emails like I did 2 years ago when you had to get me to remind you. Make sure you get your Iris TC code, so you guys have that nice and ready to be able to log in. All right, if no one's got questions, we will go through. Oh, your turn.
It's my
I
turn.
already did my part. If no one has questions on that, Julie will take over and go through some common topics. We'll do that.
Well, I'm gonna talk about accrual and report codes. A lot of those accrual codes will be coming up next. We'll start using them in January and February. Using those accrual codes can take the place of making that journal entry for you. All those accrual codes you can enter in disbursements and receipts. Yeah, implement expenses and revenue, receipts and disbursements. Usually a cutoff date. Some people use January, some people February, and I think the last week it's been March for those accrual codes. If you need to change or add accrual codes, if you have permission, you can go to your codes file, check out the accrual codes on there, and then go add multiple in the master code file. I just threw up some examples of accrual codes, the AR, accounts payable, also the DFF, Gs that a lot of you will use, TCF, that a lot of everybody uses for government funding. And then when you're all done, do you want to see if all those report on your accrual codes got used? There's a, can't really see it in that garland, but there's a report that you could run by accrual code on the bottom to make sure that you have your accrual codes where you want them, the right kind of accrual codes. Especially those government, those DFGs and DTFs. All those government ones to make sure that they're all going to the right spot. And then talk about report codes. Those are also in the same spot, that code file. Report codes. A lot of people use these to track for grants and projects. Takes the place of having to create that new GL. Some counties use a new GL or if they have a grant that they got to add in a whole new GL. But this way you can just use your same GLs, they're on a report code, and then run that report code to see if your expenses and revenue and else that report. You set up the report code. Here's some examples of report codes that you can use. We learned you can use that they're only one, you have to use a number or a letter, but you can use
Symbols.
a symbol if you want to, if you run out of report codes. They, the county that I picked this from, they haven't got to the symbols yet, so these are just an example of ones that they use for theirs. I know they have, like, if you have your ground tax, you can put that report code in there and then run that report to see all those expenses that you have in there. I think a lot of people maybe use this for those COVID expenses back in the day. I put it together, rule and report codes. This is where you can add them into the cash drawer. There's a drop down for report codes and there's a drop down for your rule code. And then in IFS, I added for auditor vouchers where you can add in the report code and the accrual code in there. I was gonna add a screen, but I forgot, but you can, if it's never too late, you can go into inquiry receipts and disbursement inquiry and you can go in and change and add those codes there if you forgot. Which is easy to forget when you start in January to be like, oh, we'll code on there. You can always go back in and change those after, even after you've processed your transaction. So go ahead and change.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
So if you put their accrual codes in cash drawer
Yeah.
for your accounts receivable and stuff, is it gonna carry over into IFS? So when I run my reports to IFS, is that gonna show up?
It does.
Yes.
I was gonna say,
Yeah.
I think it did in cash register, so.
Yeah, those accrual codes and report codes will be transferred over as well. Those are interfaced into IFS. And those drop downs are actually pulling from IFS. So those, as long as you have that linked up and that drop down is there, you should be able to use them and it interfaces into cash terms. Or sorry, into IFS.
Manual, void, and corrects. They are in the menu with receipt batches. Why use an MVC? I think I'm not a big journal entry fan, so I have liked MVCs. They're way easier to use. You can use them for your ACH payments, void checks, very easy. Correct all of your errors. In a warrant, if you used a different GL that you weren't supposed to use, you can make a correction there. Then when you run your disbursement journal or ledger, they will show up in there, so you can see it. A journal entry doesn't show up in your disbursements journal, so if you make a correction, it's not gonna show up in there. This way, if you make a correction, then it'll show up in that ledger. See that you made a manual check, you can see that you made the correction, and those void checks will show up there, and it eliminates those checks to yourself. So you can just switch between departments there. Batches are similar to auditor and commissioner warrants, except that you need to input the warrant number and the date. They don't default, because you can handpick what you want for the warrant number in there. You can put add.
Sorry.
Oh, I'm gonna talk, no, it's fine, go on. I'm gonna talk about a manual check. That's when you go in and you add, you can select M for a manual check. These are great for bank fees, your state payments such as your tax settlement, mortgage and deed, sales tax that you have to go online to make those. It's a great place to make that check out and then you can see it too. So to me, journal entries, you know, everything makes a journal entry. So to dig through all of your journal entries can be a pain. If you, especially if you're the one that's doing warrants and receipts, you have a ton of journal entries. So to me, the manual is a great way to see those checks. And you just write it out. To me, it's just like a check. You're writing that check out to the Minnesota Department of Revenue. Got your account formula in there, how much you're gonna pay, fill out a description, and it's just like a check. And then you can submit it. Another great way to use these too is then the next time you make your mortgage and deed or your sales tax, you can go and copy that batch. That way you still have your, make sure you change things, but you'll have your account formula in there and have the description, you'll have that vendor number already in there. It's an easy way to just keep moving on and you don't have to search. Let's copy that batch and make your next tax settlement payment. Voids are probably the easiest thing in IFS. Just enter that warrant number in, that warrant date, the date that you choose your void. Put in a description that you're voiding the check, you can add why, maybe they lost the check. Need it anymore, for whatever reason, you can put that in the description line, and then you can hit submit. And then it'll bring that up, and it'll populate everything for you. It'll populate that vendor number for you, put in the account number for you. If you have the invoice, it's just gonna copy that check and just void everything for you. Like I said, it's, to me, it's the easiest thing in IFS to do. Is it fills everything out for you. The C is for a correction. You screw up, put that check to the wrong GL, this is where you can go in to fix that. 2 transactions will need to be made if you need that correction done. You're gonna make a negative entry for the check that you messed up on. But whatever you want in the description, you can use that, your same warrant number, and then it'll grab that when you run your disbursement ledger, it'll also show up for that check number that this correction. This check number actually went to this person or this account number, and it should actually go. That's, make sure you have good descriptions on these two. Probably you don't, I mean, you think you have a good memory, but you probably don't. And you're like, why did I do that entry? Well, this is a great way to see, oh, I had to reclass this check as I put it in the wrong GL. And then again, these corrections will be seen in the disbursement and your journals. So yeah, you're gonna make an entry to take it away and then another entry to put it back into GL that you want that entry to go into.
Can I ask why you would use the manual instead of just doing an auditor warrant, like for the mortgage and deed?
Because what do you do? Because you have to pay your state payments online.
I do, and currently we do that and we print the check and void the check.
Right.
We're talking about not doing that, just not print the check, just give my gal the sheet so she can put it in her reconciling stuff. But what, if you do it manually, what does it do different?
Well, it's still gonna show up on your journal entry. You won't print a check, basically. It's like I call it it's a manual check, really. You're going in there and you're writing out a check, and it's still gonna show up in your disbursements. You'll still see that it's paid. It eliminates that writing out a check, and then what do you do with this check?
Yeah.
That you have, where it's essentially writing out a check, it's just not printing one out.
So can I still do it in auditor warrants and just not print the check? I mean, because that's done in AS 400, by check printing.
No, because you have to it's gonna have to have a number of some sort when you do it in an auditor warrant.
Right, it gives it a check number.
Right, but then you have a physical check.
Go ahead. We do the manual and we have a separate series of manual entry numbers that don't follow the auditor issue ones. Okay. So that's what we.
When I did it, like every year, like this year would be, I would start everything with 25. So it'd be 2501 would be the first check of the year. If I did a manual warrant. And then I just would add on to those as I did them. Cause then it's nice to see, then you don't have that check, you don't have to like, what do I do with this check? Cause you don't really want to void it.
Right.
But then it eliminates printing out a check, and then it still shows up in your disbursement inquiry to see that you paid it. It's me, like when you make, a lot of times you have, like, I think they used to, when I was at Stevens, they made a journal entry. Like I said, and then I had to go look through all those journal entries to see that state payment. Or this way, I just look through my annual warrants, I can see it. Right up there. To me, if the eliminates you printing a check, I just think it's great.
Well, I just think if
Yeah.
I'm going to AS 400, I can just delete it on after printing.
Right.
That's what I'm trying to figure out
Okay.
what the advantage is of the manual over doing it as an auditor warrant, just not printing the check.
Right. Where's the Shawman meter?
feel like it saves you a lot of steps. There's
Yeah.
one entry, you print out this form and then it's searchable by the dollar amount, just like a warranty.
Yeah, you can, yeah, like it's in your disbursement inquiry, it runs in those ledgers, you can see it.
It's all I have, there's no green screen.
You also don't have to look at the three different
Yes.
spots, you just drop down and process. You don't have to-
Yeah. And I was doing, when I did it, I just copied it too, like the next time I made sales tax, I went to that sales tax bed, I just copied it. Changed the amounts. Changed I just put the month like it was October sales tax, I changed it to November sales tax. Just shortens it shortens it up. You can see. And then vendor maintenance, Dominique did touch a little bit on that. Best practices, I know a lot of people have duplicate vendors. Before you quickly add a new one, I mean, there's many ways to search in your vendor file. It's Centerpoint Energy, search for center, you can for S or CENT. I mean, search for it all, try different ways of spelling, try different spaces. Another thing I always did was I had the vendor file up and then I had disbursement inquiry on another screen. Sometimes I put in that account number that was on the bill to see if, oh, maybe the vendor is gonna pop up attached to that GL number. And also is a good way to check to see if the invoice was already paid. Another good way to have that disbursement inquiry up at the same time. See that, oh, that vendor was already used, or, oh, now that invoice looks familiar, well, maybe you already paid it. So I always had both screens up, flip flop, I only had one screen back then, so I had tab between the two, or now you've got two screens, you can both of them up. It's a good way to check states and check to see if that vendor's been used, or, yeah, you need to create a new vendor. Next. When you're creating a new vendor, everything that has a star by it needs to be added, so obviously the name, you have, I think a lot of you just have your vendor number, just get added, personally added in, and then if it's an individual or organization. I feel like it's kind of a lie, I think you do need an address in there because it's angry, you don't have that as a print check. And then those new things that Dominique talked about for payment and for receipt are automatically defaulted to yes, but you can change those in here too when you are adding that new vendor in there. And then you can put the notes like the W9, all those, and then notes section on. And add phone number, email address, all that good stuff. Thanks. And then in the financial tab, this is for those ACH vendors. You'll need to add an email address on the first screen though to do any ACH, because it doesn't like you don't have email address.
You have more than one email address.
Yep.
for the-
Yeah.
How do you?
I think I have it on. You do. The screen one more.
Sorry, I
Separated by
household.
Yeah,
Just a
you can
comma.
add, you just have to add a comma.
Okay, thank you.
So you can add it to. That was a new feature. Yeah, and then in the financial file, you'll wanna check over their banking information to make sure you have that all entered in correctly. Check that free note to,
Oh, sorry.
okay. Check the free note and then it'll send a free note that you can send to the bank if you want to before you send through that ACH vendor. But, yeah, if anybody doesn't do ACH, so. Pretty easy, eliminates those last checks.
Postage.
Add postage, yes, I saw eliminated a lot of, oh, I don't cash this check. I'm going to have to cash this check, because I sent it directly. The 1099 info file is for, it's, you got that person, that guy that owns a business, but his files all his taxes in his own name. So this way you can put their address. to change it, so it grabs in that, 1099 file. Instead of the address that you had in the vendor file, maybe it gets sent somewhere else, or it has a different name. This is where you can add that information in, 1099 info. And she did talk to you a little bit about merging those duplicate vendors, yeah, just remember that the industry all stays there, but the first column is the first spot is the vendor that you want everything merged. Vendor to be merged and the vendor to be merged into. So if you do find that you have two vendors that are the same. It's right to do that. Sometimes like, seems like your highway has a vendor number and you have a vendor number and then you each use different ones. This is a great way to merge those vendors. Probably easier for you to use the highway one, so we can tell them differently, but this is a great way to get those vendors together, so you don't start using that one. Purging, I think it sounds scary. I know it's been kind of a topic at the last few triple C meetings that we've been at, like when you purge, why do you purge? How do you purge? How scary is it to purge? That is in your miscellaneous tab. It's gonna warn you anyways that everybody needs to be out of IMS before you purge. But I thought I'd throw it up there. So there's 4 options of purging: details, vendor file, charter accounts, and the GL elements. The first one is to purge details. This option will purge all details from receipts, disbursements, GL detail, and budget from year that was inputted. Probably want to check with your auditors before you start doing a lot of purging. I believe it's 7 years they seem to like to purge, but so if you want to purge, it's scary. You can ask them what year that you should put in there, but this purges a lot of stuff. So make sure before you purge, I would run all those, make sure you have all of those reports that you think you need before you purge. Like your account activity report, your receipts, disbursements, all that kind of things before you actually do the big purge. I think the hot topic is the next one. Purging vendors. Yeah, purge SSIS vendors. And I mean, it's probably a good thing, so it seems like people's vendor list gets just like, there are pages and pages and pages on, it's like they get, vendors get made, nobody uses them. This is a great way to filter out those two, so if they are inactive, go to the next screen. Yeah, you select all categories, and then you can, if you use the drop down, do all, you can include some, you can exclude some. There's one where. But, once you pick those out, those, you can select those vendors that you don't want anymore. It will, vendors with a D will be pre-checked, so if you do this, if you put a D on that you don't want yours anymore, it's gonna show up on here. And then the garland might be hiding it, but it's pages. That's almost pages and pages, but this would be a way to maybe get rid of some, at least those vendors that don't have a history that got made and nobody's ever used. This would be a good way to maybe clean up your vendor file a little bit. The next one is purging your chart accounts. This again will purge accounts that maybe were made and nobody used them. The inactive status will already be selected for you when you go in there, so then there are these. Once got made and nobody ever used them, you can see that they're inactive on there. And they don't have any history on them, so you could purge those if you wanted. The purging the GL elements can't be done until you purge your charter account, so if you're gonna get rid of those elements, you have to purge your charter accounts first. And then again, the inactive status will be selected for you, so you don't have to figure out ones are inactive, which ones aren't inactive. Has anybody purged? I think Michelle said she did like once and that she like, then after I purged, then people wanted was something from after I purged. So she's like, I've been scared to do that since. I think I was all upset. It sounds scary. To purge, this goes away. And I don't know if it harms anything to have it in there, it would just be. How clean and cluttery you don't wanna be. Seems like you have to print out all your reports anyways. For your. There's some whatnot. Does anybody have any questions on purges? I've thought for a long time, so. I'll leave it this week, that's it. Comments and questions on anything? What else do you wanna talk about?
Oh, I have a question.
Okay,
Going back to correction,
yep,
how many months can we go back? Correct the warrant, or does it have to be that bad?
no, you can go back as long as your months are open, but you can go back and open a month
Okay,
and make that correction.
correct, okay. And then I also have a question on the vendor maintenance. We have vendors that go, like their vendor name is their beaver trapping, blah, 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 but then they get a 1099 through their personal name.
Yeah.
The first pay name on line 1099, that'd be their whole name, or what's the second pay name?
That's if they have another, like, there's two.
Okay, so that's not like the first and last.
No, no, no.
Okay.
I have a question on the manual again, sorry.
Okay, that's okay.
How does that transfer over to the bank deposit, bank rec?
It goes into the bank rec. Cause it has a check number.
Okay, so it shows up in the bank rec, but it won't show up on the bank statement.
Correct. Well, it
As
will
a
because you
number.
made it, not as a number, but it'll show up because you made it.
Oh, all right.
Any other burning topics you guys wanna talk about?
No.
No?
You ever heard any of the Stevens County stuff?
No, it's too scary.
I know. That could be cleaned up. There's so many duplicates, but I'd be scared.
There is. I would,
So I
I'd
would
merge some.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They go
Yeah.
merging them.
Yeah, they
Still
still
look
show
like-
up. Yeah, they still kind of show up.
But if you merge them, you're not gonna be able to see.
Well, if you merge them, then their history gets attached to that new vendor
So
number.
it would be okay purging them, and would it get rid of all those names then? If we purge them?
They purge to the names go away.
Cause the old name would become inactive.
Right.
Right,
Should have probably tested some purging.
I think they do, I think the names,
think
I
they
think the
would.
old names go away, but
Go away.
the data should still be there unless you're purging
I'll
up to when that
practice.
data
I'll
was
purge
using
one.
those weird names.
Okay.
So I remember I emailed Twyman about it.
Yeah,
I was like, I don't know how to get.
because
rid
what
of
would be the point of purging if it doesn't go away?
Right, I would assume it would go.
Yeah, so many
Yeah.
duplicates. Yeah, you guys were talking.
Yeah.
So it's gonna come up, like, let's say you have you're in there, vendor name is the same, but the addresses are different. Are they gonna flag it as possible duplication? I ask because we have some vendors that are in our system like 4 or 5 times. But if you pay very close attention, they are set up with either a different PO box, could be the same city, but
Yeah.
different PO
Yeah.
boxes. I don't, they, especially with the state stuff,
Yeah,
they go to different
And they go to different
mailboxes
places.
depending
Yep.
on what you're doing.
yeah.
Like where?
Well,
Something.
Well, they do, like if you have a
I don't know how-
forfeiture, it goes to this.
just it goes to
If you
different
go,
locations, same Minnesota
Yep.
Department of Revenue, but different
Different
mailboxes.
yes, yeah,
And you can't, and I don't want them to all of a sudden decide we're gonna merge all these and then all of a
Oh,
sudden we got
yeah.
this mess.
right,
Right.
yeah.
So,
Yeah, just be really careful when you merge.
oh, I worry about anybody being careful.
And that'll be helpful once we get that verge
Yes,
merge
that
report, so you can see what was.
I just, that was just a question, because I know we don't like to purge. And purging is fine, but the purging part has been very
It's kinda-
questionable.
Yeah, it's kind of scary.
I know
But
counties
even
would
merging-
never,
Yeah, and
I know some do it.
I would always merge with you, cause like I said, the highway girl, we would pay the same person and she had a different vendor number
Right.
than I did. And I was like, well, this is kind of annoying, cause
We
now
kinda
I'm
got-
sending you 2 checks.
we kind of got rid of that, when we
Yeah.
ended up with one person is only allowed to set up new vendors.
Yes.
Whether it be highway, social services, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
One person is down.
And we started doing that. So the highway, she'd
Yeah.
email me and be like, can you set up a
It was
new
actually
vendor?
an auditor request.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So Dominic,
Yes,
you said with the new version that's coming out. for
Yes, I know.
IFS, we can then print a report of all our vendors that were merged. Is that what you were saying?
per as of when you get that release, yes. A lot of counties have requested, when you merge, once you merge, they're merged and you have no history, no proof of it. And so a lot of counties did put some enhancements in requests, and so they've wanted to create a vendor merge report. So you can see what was merged into said vendor.
Okay.
So
Then maybe we will wait till we see that.
Yeah.
it's proof, yes, yes, yeah.
I mean, it's scary, but then it gets rid of, I mean, most
Yeah,
people have
right.
like
Right.
even to print that 1099 report in the vendor file, I printed it and it was like
Oh, it's huge.
79 pages. It's like, I don't want to print 79 pages to check to make sure I have a 1099 vendor in there. But, you know,
That's why I
every
like,
1099 vendor gets shown into that report, whether they're used 10 years ago or
right,
last month.
per them being active, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I like running it as an Excel.
Yeah.
It's just a lot easier to sort, search, etc.
Yeah.
I can't remember, I was helping someone with that, and they were, oh no, that was for ACH changes, never mind. They downloaded the vendor file because of the Bremer change. And so they're like, can we look up just the account number? I'm like, yeah, you can, just download the vendor file, search by that
Mhm.
routing number, and then they knew all the vendors they had to change. Other helpful way of using vendor file report.
So do you all use cash drawer or some people still on cash register?
Well, if you're interested in cash drawer, we can set it up for you if you wish to play around with it. And then we always can purge it before you actually start using it, if you like it.
For the people that use cash drawer, why do you like it more than cash register? Like what's better? Is it better? Is it-
It's more user friendly. I was gonna say,
Yeah,
like,
that-
look up report or look up
Fast, yes.
Yep,
searching.
And it's not the green screen.
Yes.
It's web.
and it's free.
And it's free, yes, that's true.
Took it on here and walked through it.
Cash drawer? Oh, sure, yes, you can just let us know. If multiple people are wanting to do a walkthrough cash drawer, we can set up a date for all of you. If you all wanna do it together, or we can do it separate, however you would like it. Sure, yeah, just email me, yeah, and then we
set
can
up a-
schedule up a date, put you guys all together.
We can also, we had a IFS 101 a couple months ago. I sent out the email and I only had a few of you, but it went over really, really well for the people that came. I mean, it isn't just 101, I should say. It's, maybe I labeled it wrong, but we had great discussion. Lisa was there from Candy and I mean, we could have probably talked for another hour. I mean, it was like 5 hours long. I'm not kidding. Like we could have kept going. It was.
Sometimes a small group's better.
I think it is
Yes.
because I think people are more comfortable talking. And then it's kind of good to hear what other counties are doing that maybe you could implement. We're hoping to do more, not in the winter.
Caitlin and I, we went and it was very good, so I highly recommend. Get a chance to go.
They did that when I started back in Stevens in 2016 and it was super helpful.
Yeah.
To have that, just for new people, even people that have been there for 15, 20 years. It was great to have that one-on-one discussion between everybody, so. We have it again. I encourage you all to come. We had Michelle from Big Stone come. She sat in and she's got such knowledge of IFS.
Use her before she leaves.
I know, that's what I
I
told
know.
her. I'm like, how many more months do we have you?
Free.
Trying to convince her to be a
She's like,
consultant.
"Mark." So maybe we won't have her then, but we can maybe get another experienced auditor to maybe come in and sit down to share what they do, but it was really beneficial.
And it's nice for counties to talk to each other and see how,
And I think it's
One
good for
does it-
like you deputies, because I always feel like they have auditor treasurer meetings, but the deputies never leave. You never get to talk to anybody.
Mhm.
And also there's a lot of new staff, or like.
Yes.
all the hospitals that
Yeah.
have inherent processes, not saying they're good or bad, but maybe they don't make sense to you, and maybe there's a different way to do it, and yes, getting that peer feedback is very helpful.
Yeah,
or didn't know an option existed.
yes, that's the other thing, like.
Another thing, that's even
Could do that.
in IFS, if you don't have permission to it, you don't see it. So you
Yeah.
never know there's an option there. Which is why whenever we do, or at least I try to, when I do a screenshot, I try to use it from ours, like our dev site. And I have permission to everything, so you can see all the options, so you see what's
Yeah,
available.
Not everybody always. has.
And I know the manual shows every option, of course. But it's nice to see someone use it and ask questions. Which kind of reminds me, I just got an email. How is positive pay working for some of you? I know there were some issues with switching with Bremer, positive pay not working. It's gotten better, it's gotten better.
That
I know
whole
some
Bremer
people-
switch was kind of.
Yes. It was
And it was
very
not
messy.
good timing with like tax software and all that.
Mhm.
stuff,
It
How that
wasn't.
get changed. They didn't poll everybody to ask. But yeah, with tax settlement, I was like. Not good timing.
Mhm. I heard that a request is going through, I think through Trimum to create a drop down for their new name. What's their new name?
Old National.
Old National. Cause if I remember correctly, the Bremer one doesn't work. Or isn't the same layout for Old National. So I do know there's a request going out, so they'll create one for Old National. Hopefully that is going well. I don't remember who I was talking to though, who did that. So that's good to know. Does anyone go to the enhancement committees by chance? Sadly, there is one today, which of course I couldn't go to. Do any of you guys go into any of them to listen in, or at least look at the email so you know what's being discussed, what's on the docket, what's been approved, not approved, or requested? Or tabled?
They might not get the emails.
Yes.
Auditor.
Okay, Trimon does have an email list for many things. Through RSVP, which is through MCCC. That's what they do, their group emails. And you can check a box to see which ones you would like to be emailed on. One of them is the enhancement committee, or there's a training committee, and there's also just an overall newsletter one that they do as well. It'd be a very good email to be a part of that group. Because when you add a request or you like a request someone else did, you always want to be part of that enhancement committee, because if there's not enough yays, it won't get passed. Or it'll be tabled and discussed, or depending on the county that's fighting for it, it depends. So they always say, try to be listening in, see what enhancements are coming through, what requests, and if you like it, they always suggest please join. They always like discussion, see if they don't see enough counties wanting it, they're like, is it worth it? Which I completely understand as well. So that's also a very good one to be a part of. I know today, I think it was at 10 o'clock. I was like, well, not this time, maybe next time I'll be part of it. I do like to at least listen in. Which reminds me, for report codes, there's an enhancement that just got approved for report codes from increasing its length. Instead of being 1 character to 3 characters. So if you are one of the few counties that have started using symbols, because you're running out of report codes, because they're only 1 character, it will soon be 3. And I think they said that one won't be done until like the 7.1 release with the iris changes. But it has been approved and they are going to do it. So it's nice to know what's upcoming. So it's also a good one to keep in mind.
If you could include that link in your recap on.
Oh, yes, I can,
SVP thing.
include the RSVP. That's how we learned about, if you saw, heard me mention the NCCC year-end meeting. Very good one to go to as well. That is part of their mailing list as well. They do have like over 30 different types of subjects for you to choose from. If you're interested, I will give you a screenshot of what I select to. They do offer a lot of other things outside of IFS. They also do a lot of auditor and treasurer stuff. They do a lot of trainings, or not them themselves, but they support, sponsor other trainings for like DOT and other stuff. So they do have a wide variety of options. But I can put that in our wrap up email as well. If there's any additional information, do let me know and I'll attach it to the email. I think. Trying to think. Of course, once the recording's done, I always create a page for it and that'll be in the email as well. So. Yeah, I think that's. Anything else you want to add? I know, I'm trying to think of all that was discussed.
So say not IFS related, but what I handed out in case you
Oh,
don't
yes.
know what that is. It is a mini battery pack, so the little gray things open and have different phone ports, so you can charge that.
The battery
keychain. There's also a flashlight. Do not shine the flashlight in your eyes. My car employees did that and said, holy cow, I could hardly see for an hour, so.
But you got Preston.
It was.
You thought it wasn't coming on, and all of a sudden it like blinded itself, so.
And the gray pieces on the side are not trimmed, that's actually the charge cords.
Yes, so
Right.
there's two charge cords, one that's lightning for iPhones and then C for, I guess, like iPhones as well, and
Yeah.
for Android stuff.
Oh, it is. So it's kind of nice.
Yep, comes with a little charging cord.
Is it working?
It is working. I know. I believe that it's on charge, but it works. Yeah.
Yeah. I think my child snapped it from me last night already.
Oh, she broke it already?
No, she stole it.
Oh, that's what you meant. Snatched it. Oh. I thought you said cracked it.
No,
I
she's
was like, wow, that was quick.
Well, that would be enough battery options.
Oh,
Yeah, not for that, no. I watch TikTok for hours.
Yes.
Is everyone ready? You're excited for 1099s? I know next year will be a lot easier if they do that
Thankfully, they're only
increase.
once a year.
Oh, yes. Next year, there'll be even less for you to do.
Yeah.
That 2,000 cutoff instead of 600. Actually, I think for some of you, that'll get rid of some completely. Yeah. Little to none. Oh, I am so sorry. I saw people in chat. Oh. I am sorry. Is there a way to set the exportable fields on vendor maintenance? Yes. Yes, if you want us to set your vendors to e-portable for cash register, or sorry, not cash register, cash drawer, or for any other reason that you need it, you just let us know, just email us and we can just set them all, active ones to e-portable. Yes, quick and simple to do it. That's,
Yeah, we just do a sequel to this change.
yeah, we just do it in the background, command it, get it all done for you.
It's one of those. What's the
Do you have a
AP?
PowerPoint for your IFS meeting you had? Can you send it to our team? For the one we just did, like the current one we're doing? Or are you talking about the MCCC one?
They don't record.
They don't record. Oh yeah, that's one drawback for MCCC. They never record their meetings. Unless it is an outside person presenting. So I think last year they had someone from the IRS, which was very interesting. That was a very good one to watch. We do have that video. They recorded that section, which was really nice for that lady who went through all the 1099s and actually went through some W-2s and W-9 stuff too.
Yeah.
It was very informational, very good one to listen to. But they don't record. Sadly, I think it's like 5 PowerPoints for that MCCC meeting that happened. So it's not
I
just one
talked about
PowerPoint.
one. We talked, one of them was report codes.
Yeah.
And I went over that. That was 1099s. We
Um,
kind of cover it usually.
we did cover it.
Voiding of a check. I
Yes.
talked about
Yeah,
that.
voiding the check was another discussion. Sadly, when they went over the
I didn't know
release,
people didn't use
Nothing
the
else.
void. I think it's so easy.
I did learn, yeah, we did learn there was some counties that don't use voids at all,
Yep.
which was an interesting topic to discuss afterwards on
Yeah.
why. Um, they just,
Yeah.
what, oh, they just do,
Well, some of them would
depends.
reverse the check in an auditor warrant and then do it again, and they'd use the same check number.
Yeah, they reuse it all within the auditor commissioner batch they're in.
Voiding is so easy.
So it's kind of like a.
It's so easy. It's the easiest thing in IFS.
Right.
Like, I wish
Um,
that everything was that easy in there. Oof, there it is.
If you want the MCCC email, or sorry, MCCC PowerPoint, I'm trying to think how to send it to them, because it's like 7 attachments.
We could
I don't know if I can do that plus ours as well.
Right,
Um,
we'll have to do 2 emails. maybe.
I might have to do 2 emails if you're interested in the MCCC. I might just forward the MCCC email.
Yeah.
To just make it easier because it's already in there. Cause in their email, it's not an attachment, it's just a link. So I might just do that as well. I could just forward the MCCC email that has all of their attachments on it for that meeting.
Yep.
Sadly, it doesn't have anything about the beta. Cause he just presented it live and didn't give any handouts, so that's why I couldn't give you anything. On that part, but I can certainly do that, get that done. So that works, okay, perfect. And of course, I will be attaching the RSVP email, or not email, address. Link, for you to create your own login and choose what emails you would like to be a part of. I might do like a list of which ones I'm a part of. Or at least the main ones you should be a part of, like the newsletter, the training, the enhancement, and then there's another one. I think there's like an overall just an IFS one. And a cash drawer one. The rest of them are up to you. They email a lot, just a heads up, they email a lot.
5 reminders for.
And they do a lot of reminders for email, so they want you to RSVP yes or no. And if you say yes, or you haven't said anything, I swear they just keep emailing you. So I will admit, I have created a separate subfolder in my email. They just go all in there, RSVP emails go in there, and then I go through them. So just heads up for that, for when you do sign up for them, they do send them regular, and then of course, they also do send the IFS release notes as well, that's how I get them as well. I of course send them to all of you as well. So when I get them, you can get them, but I usually only send them to you once you get the release. Cause there's not much you can do with them beforehand, I guess, except prepare if you're interested in whatever's coming. Yeah, I'm trying to think. Yeah. Yeah, if you're interested in cash drawer, just let us know, email us. We'll set you up if you're not set up, and then we can also set up a little get together training / overview of cash drawer. We haven't done one of those in a while. I think we did that, what, a year ago? When we did the big push in 23. We were trying to get cash register put away. For those that want to be a part of the training, if you want to play with cash drawer before you come over, let us know, we can set it up. We just need to create the program, give you logins, and then get you going. I think some of you have it, but don't officially start it. So if you don't know what your link is, or if you're wondering if you do have it, but just aren't officially using it, just let us know. We can just send you the links and what the logins are. Go from there. Do a purge if they've started doing stuff in there. Walk you through that step. So that should be nice and should be pretty simple for you guys to do. I will be, of course, in the email attaching the IFS manual and the cash drawer manual, so you always can review it. I update the manuals as the releases come out, of course, or as you guys get them officially. I try to update it. But yeah. What time is it? 11:40. I think they're starting to put out lunch already. If anyone hasn't noticed or heard, it is a taco bar today. for our lunch. Nice variety and choices to choose. Do not have a pen, so I can write down her name. Make sure Amy on her. Kim, what county are you from, Kim?
She's from Faribault.
Oh, is she Faribault? Oh, yes, I'm adding Faribault to my mailing list. Do not worry. I'm gonna get Julie to give me all your emails. And you will officially be part of our IFS email chain and / cash store. Yes, that's right. I do have a note to add all of you once Julie gives them to me. All right, perfect.
All right.
Well,
Anything else?
if there's no more questions, I guess we might release for lunch and. Yeah, and if you guys have any issues or anything, questions that you wanna talk to us one-on-one, just walk up to us and let us know. And yeah,
Or call me.
or call me, yes. Yes, thank you. Thank you all for coming. For those in Zoom, hopefully the recording will be done and rendering and then we can send it to you soon.
Yesterday. You're right, I think it was.
Do it process?
Yes, thank you, everyone.
It's that easy.
It's like classes showing up.
Some of that stuff's scary.
It kind of is just.
I always think too, when you're like in a process, this is the point of no return.
And then,
That's intimidating.
It is intimidating. It's like,
oh, here it is.
sounds so scary.